Okay, it is, yes, Friday, May the 7th, 2021. It's about 8:32 p.m. and welcome to week 6. Actually, week 6 actually starts technically Monday and ends on Tuesday. However, I'm going to go over the details of the assignments. I did cover the details on um, Tuesday, but I'm going to go over them more in detail, which is really not going to be much. So it won't be very long, this final lecture. I know that it's a Friday night. I've got just some more grading to do. Actually, I've graded everything in this class for week 4 already. So I'm grading um, some papers in the other class. So let's get started here. And let's take a look at this. And let's move this over here. You'll trade me. uh, yeah, I got 16 papers to grade, which is not a lot. But then I have to turn around right away, uh, starting after Sunday, to grade week 5, and then week 6. And I think the grades are due a week from today or tomorrow. I think it's a week from tomorrow that all final grades are. So I don't know. And then I also have the same time. I'll probably do tomorrow, set up my 3 classes for term 2. So I don't think you want all the work I have. Probably the good part about it. I don't know how many students I'll have next term. I didn't have as many this time. Yeah. Okay, you changed your mind. Okay, let's take a look at the student preview real quick so we can get you up to speed on this week. Yeah, it is a small class. This is one of the smallest classes I've had. I think I started out with 7 or 8 students, and I ended up with five students. And you are probably the most committed one. I see you every week. So, okay. Yeah, a lot of discussion posts. Yeah, I remember I had this course teaching one time and I had 25 students. Can you imagine that? Every week it was roughly 50 discussion posts to do. That's just the discussion posts. Okay. I guess you have to be careful what you agree to. That's why. Okay. So anyway, here is the page that you know. Again, teaching he plead the 5th. Yeah, I hear you. The page for emails, and you can see these are emails that I have sent out. I will I will put out tonight the PowerPoints for week 6, even though technically I don't do that until Sunday, but I'll do that tonight, so you'll have that, as well as those who, and I don't know why I'm saying this in the recording, is that those who are not in the recording, I'll put the link to the recording, and if they don't know the link to the recording, I guess they can't find it. But anyway, that won't be your problem. So anyway, so that's how you get the emails, which you'll see the links and also the PowerPoints. Uh, it takes you forever to find the link on. That's not that hard now, and I'm actually gonna just mention it to you. Well, I'll show you. I'll show you where it is. Yeah, the new system. That's why I go over it like this. So anyway, here's the grade book. Let's look at week 6. Week 6. So we got 3 things in here. Well, actually 4 things. You got the final project. You got the death penalty. Then you got discussion. Only 1 this week because you have more than enough work. And then your final exam. Okay, we will talk about all of those, and then your live classroom lecture. So let's talk about the Fourth Amendment project, which we've been talking about consistently. I want to remind you that it is due on Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. And these are the details that should be in this project. So you can use this as a checklist. Also, the rubric that I sent you earlier. So you're going to pay attention to the feedback that I gave you in the previous weeks. And remember your paper, first of all, it doesn't say it here, but I'll say it, is double space, not single space, double space. And the appropriate font, citations in the body, and references at the end. Very, 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 very important. Yeah, there's a few people that do that. I don't know why. Since this paper calls for 6 to 8 pages, I think we're doing you a favor by saying double space. That's for sure. So bullet point 1 says focus on your selected aspect of the Fourth Amendment, and you did that during week 2. Offer your opinion of the law in that area, how it is today, the current state, and what changes you would make and why. Include relevant case law. Remember, you found current case law earlier and secondary sources. And remember, as I said before, secondary sources are law reviews, articles, and things of that nature. Do not use your textbook as a secondary source because this involves research. Remember, when you cite your cases, please make sure you give me the appropriate full citations. I don't have to tell you that. You already know all of that. But there are people that are looking at this video that don't remember that. And so I'm putting it again in one place where it's easy to find. Include a recent related case. I don't know what that, include a related even or case. I don't know. That's a typo. I didn't do that. The programmers. But anyway, you already did that. Matter of fact, I believe that was your last assignment in week 5. I think it was relevant case. But include an interview. Now, if you opted to do the alternate assignment, please don't worry about that. Please don't worry about that. I personally probably would have done the alternate. No, you cannot interview yourself. Uh-uh. Now that's like I can't interview myself, even though I do know a lot. I'd have to use someone else. But you would have had to have done that interview already. So, but the key thing is make sure that I know you are. You do that same way. So you've been around Professor Wright too many years, too many courses, I guess. So at any rate, uh, people should recognize, yeah, it does. It does keep it interesting, but don't get caught on that. If you do that, make sure that you do it appropriately with the citations for who you interviewed and the questions, and it should be appropriate based upon the assignment that was given. Your paper should be proofread for spelling, grammar, and punctuation, 6 to 8 pages. That does not count the cover page, and it does not count the reference page. Use APA guidelines for citations, reference page, and a cover page. That is it. And it should be pretty easy because you've been preparing. Now, remember the cases that you briefed earlier. Those cases you briefed earlier, you can or cannot use, you can or don't have to. However, I'm getting ready to tell you this, because students do this. Do not submit the brief to fill your 6 pages. Did you hear me? That's going to be like an addendum. You have to make sure. Remember, the purpose of briefing cases, and I know you know this, is to get a synopsis of the case that you should have read so that you will be able to utilize it in any form of explanation, whether it's written or oral communication. That's the purpose of briefs. That's what we lawyers did. That's what you guys as paralegals learned how to do as well. So that's it for the Fourth Amendment project. Any questions? Yeah, it's used for quick reference. Yeah, yeah, I know what you meant. Any questions about this assignment? Okay. There are students who already told me, they said that they didn't understand it. I says, well, it's ABC. It gives it, lays it out. You started building it from the first course. It's almost like the way that people who took Introduction to Corrections when it was an 11-week course and you had to do a course project, you start building from the beginning of the course, and that's how that works. All right. So let me get out of that. So now let's go back to the written assignment, the death penalty. All right, let's take a look at this. As you should be aware that it's a 1 to 2 page. Um, um, well, instructions are vague, but they're really, if you go back to what you would have been doing the previous weeks, it's right on point. Because if you did the work you're supposed to do, you say, oh, yes, yes, yes. So that's the key. It is vague to people who go jump to week 6 and try to do it and didn't do really. I had one student in one time tried to do the paper without having done the earlier stuff, which didn't do them a service as far as their grade is concerned. So anyway, this written assignment about the death penalty is a 1 to 2 page paper. Need I say it again? But I will. Double space APA. And the questions to deal with are, how does the death penalty fit into the Constitution? And under what amendment does it fall under? Do you know the amendment off the top of your head that the death penalty falls under? Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. That's correct. That's correct. And under the law, the question is it fair? Well, if you, I'll give you a little biscuit. If you were to do research, there's a leading case that happened in 1972, I believe it was. It was that long ago. That's a long time ago. That was when my second daughter was born. She'll be 49 this year. So that was nearly 49 years ago. Furman versus Georgia. Yeah, you're right. So Furman versus Georgia. You ever heard of that case? Furman, Furman versus Georgia. You ever heard of that? Well, you will now. Furman, Furman vs versus Georgia. I will not give you the site, but if you check it out, you'll find it. It's the landmark case that pretty much decided that the death penalty is legal and set out the circumstances under which a person could receive the death penalty. And then, of course, you should also be aware that many states, such as Illinois, no longer has a death penalty. The death penalty was done away with in, I can't remember what year he did this. It had to be before 90, let's see, it was 2013, I think, or 14, 2012 or 13, when one of my, yeah, Texas always has stuff like that going. Texas, there's some crazy things going on in Texas. I'm not even going to deal with all the issues there, like the voter issues. But anyway, that's a sidetrack. But the truth of the matter is that in Illinois, Governor Pat Quinn, who was my classmate at law school at Northwestern University, actually I was his mentor, believe it or not, when we were in law school. He came in 2 years after I did, and senior law students were assigned to incoming students, and he was in my group, and we became really good friends. So he went on to become governor um, after Rod Blagojevich went to prison. And of course, Rod Blagojevich is no longer a felon because, or was he might still be, but I think his sentence was just commuted by Trump. But at any rate, so there are various states that do still have the death penalty. And then, so the question is, what is the current state of death penalty in the state where you live? You told me you could elaborate on that. Um, Provide sources and citations. Do you agree or disagree with the death penalty? Why or why not? Is a very interesting aside. Many people who know my story um, know that I don't believe in the death penalty. I just don't. Um, I personally understand that a person who's sentenced to the death penalty that dies takes them out of misery for the murders that they did. As you know, both of my parents, or if you look at my story, Adversity is a Springboard to Success, you see that it opens up and starts with an explanation of why I take that position and what made me become a lawyer. Well, and then you'll understand that the person that did that uh, basically was a walking dead and lost their mind, you know. Uh, so yeah, I know that one. Okay. Um, but there's a lot of people that don't go that route with it. But I look at it from the perspective that individuals serve more time and suffering when they live, when they commit those offenses, and than not. And it mentally works on them, believe it or not. I know it. I've seen it personally how it did. So anyway, paper should be proofread for spelling, grammar, and punctuation. Very, 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 very important. Okay. So the answer to the question is it constitutional? The answer is yes under Furman versus Georgia. And then there's other cases that you will discover as well. So any questions about the written assignment on the death penalty? Well, we haven't got there yet. We got ways to go before we get there yet. So, all right. Yeah, you're trying to end the lecture quick. Okay. So, anyway, the oh, I think I know what you did that for. But anyway, uh, no comment at this point. So then we get to the discussion post of DNA. As you will utilize this fact here about these two cases, um, Juan Rivera and Jerry Hobbs are just two of the cases where the suspects were exonerated due to evidence following this. And after you learn about these two cases, then you can answer these questions. Now remember, your initial post and reply post are both due Tuesday. Tuesday. Tuesday, the 11th. That's it. You could do it before that, but the point of the matter is that they're both due. All right. And so those are your last ones. Um, all right. So those are the things that you want to take a look at in terms of discussion posts. I DNA talking about it. I think DNA was the most revolutionary thing that has happened in it's not really that tough a discussion post. DNA is probably one of the most revolutionary things that has happened in criminal justice. It came near the end of my career and didn't get a chance to utilize it much because I retired in 2000, but it came just before that. And so I tell students all the time that it's the most important scientific evidence thing that has come about next to cameras and videos and things of that nature. All right. So that's the discussion assignment. And then the final exam, which I will not click on. What did you say? It's the handcuffing police like parts. That's tough. Yeah, I kind of understand what you're saying there. Yeah. Okay. So now let's talk about, and I repeat, I will not click on it, because if I click on it, then you will begin to see it. All right. So this exam contains 19 multiple choice and true false questions and 6 short answer questions. Now listen to me good about what I'm about to say. Remember, these tests are closed books. Do not copy and paste material, because there are students who, believe it or not, with their short answers have copied and pasted material. That is a dead giveaway that you had that source somewhere else, that information. You do not want to do that, because you will get a 0 for the test. That will be marked wrong, and you could get a 0 for the test because of the fact that you violated the academic integrity policy. And it's a 60-minute test. You'll have one opportunity to complete this exam. And then it says, by agreeing, you'll abide by the academic integrity policy. That's the whole statement of the description. And we already been talking about that before. Now, question, how do you prepare? You've been preparing since week 1. If you know already that the biggest topic that we've been talking about in this particular course is what amendment? Yeah, the 4th. That's right. That is the interesting. My daughter, who's in 7th grade, said that she had an assignment she had to do. She had to write about the first 10 amendments. So I started quizzing her about what do they call that, and then I started talking to her about the amendments. You know, so I told her, I says, you have an advantage over some of your classmates. Maybe they also have dads who or moms who are lawyers. But the point of the matter is I started explaining them to her. Yeah, yeah, they study all that kind of stuff there. We used to have to take this thing called a constitutional law test, and I don't remember what we did in high school or grammar school. I don't remember, but it was a long time ago. But I can tell you this, that yeah, they do. We didn't have that then. The other thing that I'm going to say is that when I look at some of these amendments, some of the ones I have to go back and look at because I don't use them much, like the Third Amendment, um, the Seventh Amendment, the Ninth, and then the 10th. I know what they are, but yeah, yeah. But of course, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, and the Eighth Amendment, we know all about. So if you know about those, I'd say you'd be in pretty good shape and know about the assignments. But if you understand the rules here, if you understand the leading case in interrogation and confessions, do you know what that is? Yep. Do you know what the leading case in interrogation and confessions is? Yeah, yeah. That is it. And so what I expect students to give me is at least the name of the case, but you don't have to give me the citation. I mean, you can, but don't. I told you, it's a closed book. So Miranda versus Arizona. Okay, and then dealing with the Sixth Amendment, if you want to really get points, you mention the leading case for the right to an attorney. You know what that one is? The leading Sixth Amendment case, right to an attorney. It's a character in the Bible with that same name. Gideon versus Wayne, and the last part you should know, it's Wright. Gideon versus Wainwright. And then there's Powell versus Illinois, excuse me, as well as another case. But you should know that the Sixth Amendment contains speedy trial and things of that nature. But our main emphasis has been, yeah, but Gideon versus Wainwright, you should be familiar with. That's a leading case. And then the Eighth Amendment, I kind of already talked about cruel and unusual punishment. Also, you should understand and know the purpose for bail. Why is bail important? What is it used for? Those are the things. I'm just trying to tell you some things that can help you to prepare for this exam. And those kinds of things. All right. I think that's it pretty much. So anyway, you want to make sure that you have those, excuse me, um, as well. So that's all I can tell you about the exam. Excuse me. So now let's go into, again, looking at the calendar. Boy, I'm about to lose my voice. Let me get a swig of water. Okay. Don't want to do that. Okay, let's see what you said there. Forrest Gump, yeah. Don't get me started talking about Forrest Gump. My classmate went to high school with me who sat behind me, Robert Zemeckis, wrote, produced, and created that movie. I don't know if I've said that before, um, but yeah, that's yeah. He was a really nice young man. They called him he was the white nerd and I was the black nerd. We both said that we were going to be something. He said he was going to be a movie director, and guess what? He made it. And I said I was going to be a lawyer, and I made it. So that goes to show you don't be messing with the nerds, okay? They may be the people that we always tell people when I went to Northwestern that you don't want to mess with me because you may one day have to work for me. Yeah. That's what they say. That's what they say. And we do pretty well financially and business wise as well. Ask Bill Gates, ask Melinda. They're separating, but I mean, you think there's going to be poverty between the two of them? I don't think so. Just like Bezos as well. So anyway, here we are today. This is our live lecture. Your week 5 assignment discussion post, which we talked about the other day, it was due the 8th. And then your week 5 assignments here. And then, of course, we already talked about the assignments that are due the 11th. The initial post, both posts are due, and it says two initial posts because there are two. Actually, it's a reply post, an initial post that's due on that day, the 11th. Okay, course ends, and on the 12th at midnight, the new class starts for term 2. All right, term 2. I don't think I'll have anybody in this class teach. I'm in because you've probably already had those either with me or without me. I'm teaching introduction to criminal law, J150. Uh, well, you better check because it's coming up next week. And then I'm teaching also drugs and crime, J250. I got 2 sections of that I will be teaching. So, yeah. So I don't, like I said, I don't think I'll be seeing students in this class there. All right, so that's the schedule that we have starting for this week coming up. Then let's go back to, for one last time, here we go, crime and punishment. The course project, we already talked about that. And then there it is again. APA, and one more thing. Please submit your papers in Word document form if you submit it. Otherwise, you're not going to get graded and you're going to end up with a 0. So I'm not going to go over that. I've already been over that. And then, of course, the death penalty. There's the information again that we covered regarding that. The discussion assignment. Okay. And there's a few students who have started doing that. So you're going to deal with that. And then the final exam, which I am not going to start to click on it. Oops. Took it out of there real quick. Anyway, because I forgot when you open this up in this one, it actually does show. It's crazy. The others didn't do that. So anyway, you already know how long the exam is. Okay. And you agree to shoot. Here it goes again. I thought I was clicking on something else, but it won't let me do that in there. So anyway, your final exam is 1 hour long. And then your live classroom lecture. By the way, where do you find the recording? You find the recording right here where it says live classroom recording, which if you clicked on it now, of course, you wouldn't. Yeah. So I emailed it to everybody, but it also will be in here. This is where I take this out and change this to what the recording will be. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, so it'll be in here and it'll tell you something. You'll see something like this. You'll see this. Let me show you what I did in week 5. So when you go to recording, this is what it'll tell you. It'll say, click here. And if you clicked here, it would take you right to the recording for week 5. So, but then, like I said, I emailed it to you as well. So that shows you how that works. All right. So now, yeah, the link was in there. Yeah, yeah, it's in there. That's something that I don't know. That's their planning for how they did it. So let's talk about this. So the Eighth Amendment, we've already kind of talked about that, and we talk about the things that are involved, and it also gives you the information about the Juan Rivera and Jerry Hobbs information, which you use for your discussion post. So Miller versus Alabama, wrong state, wrong direction, uh, dealt with the Eighth Amendment. And the whole question is, can a person under 14 years of age be sentenced to life without parole? for the offense of murder, or is it a violation of the Eighth Amendment cruel and unusual punishment clause of the Eighth Amendment? So the leading cases on that are, um, nope, Roper versus Simmons. You heard of that case? Yep, it's a leading case, 2005, and the citation is there. The court held that a minor under 18 couldn't be sentenced to the death penalty. In 2010, in Graham versus Florida, the Supreme Court said it's unconstitutional and a violation of the Eighth Amendment to sentence a minor to life without parole, unless murder is the finding. And so the key thing is that we try to salvage youth and give them a chance, a second chance, and that it's believed that they oftentimes get in trouble because they are in the presence of older individuals, or they learn habits from older individuals. And so gives a chance to rehabilitate the young people. So we already talked about the Eighth Amendment and dealing with the, not just with the death penalty is applicable uh, to people, period. And that as a result, there is allowed the death penalty. But it takes a long time. Did you not know that a person can be on death row for 10 years or more? 10 years or more. Yeah, a long time. A person will have served time a lot of, and then there's some people who more than that. The point of the matter is that it takes a bit of time because it's very final. And by the way, just for your information, the reason why some states have done away with the death penalty is because um, the wrongful conviction, or the what do they call it, the this wrongful conviction or the exoneration programs, including Northwestern University and several people that I know um, who uh, uh, Jarrett. Do you know that name, right? Do you know that name? Yeah. Jarrett, I think it's Jarrett, he's an attorney in, I think it's Adams. Let me see, I'll tell you, because I got him in my phone here. Attorney Jarrett M. Adams was the a person who was wrongfully convicted of rape, and he worked to get his case cleared, and he now is a lawyer, and he deals with those kinds of cases. He's out in New York now. He's one of my friends on Facebook. And so anyway, the point of the matter is that it was determined that there are too many people who they later determined um, were not guilty of the offense. And just think, if they executed those individuals, then, you know, I don't know if there's a movie about Jared. There might be. It might, if it were to be a Lifetime, but I don't know if about Jared Adams. But I do know that there are movies like that. Um, so we've had a few people in Illinois, Rolando Cruz, who Northwestern University's wrongful conviction program exonerated from the death penalty for the killing of, um, what was her name? I know her name and I can't think of her name, but um, anyway, a young girl who was murdered, and they found out that a guy by the name of Brian Dugan, Janine Nicarico, that was her name. Okay, so that's the Eighth Amendment. Again, remember the Eighth Amendment, we focus on the death penalty. And so, oh, just mercy. I don't know. I have to check that out. I don't know if that's about him or not. It could be, but I'll check it out. The DNA evidence. Oh, Brian Stevenson. Okay. Um, I'll check it out. Um, DNA evidence, we already talked about in exoneration. Remember, the death penalty seems to be cruel and unusual punishment to many people. And then DNA evidence exonerated many people facing life or death sentences as well. And so DNA is very important, as I said, as a scientific evidentiary tool to exonerate individuals. Take the cases of Juan Rivera, that deals with a case in which yet prosecutors, they refused to dismiss the charges against him. He was convicted on 3 separate occasions. Finally, the appellate court said, no, you can't do that because DNA exonerated him. So you'll be able to use that in your assignment. And then Jerry Hobbs, who sat in jail for 5 years. And this is almost like Jarrett's case, but it wasn't Jarrett because it was in Illinois. While a rapist murderer roamed free. DNA exonerated Jerry, but prosecutors still wouldn't dismiss the case right away. But due to good work of the public defender's office, Hobbs was released and the true killer was caught. And this led the prosecution office to fire the lead prosecutor as well on that. So you can take a look at those relating to that. Now, okay, don't worry about these platform things. They don't work right, but you know, on these cases, you should be able to click on these. Let me see if they're working now, because they said they were working on them. Okay, let's see. They just got all kinds of stuff in here. I don't know if it's even in here. But you know what? I'm going to send some information because I remember, no, I sent some information to my other class and I have it and I'm going to send it right after I finish here to you. So you'll have that information regarding both of these cases. The final thing is the 14th Amendment due process clause. And then you have to basically have a hearing before you can deny a person of life, liberty, or property. And it allows the individual to, in criminal cases, to face their accusers. And it talks about that in the 14th Amendment as relates to criminal law and procedure, where the courts are bound by that to ensure that, as it says here, when the defendant pleads guilty to burglary and the criminal damage to property charge is dismissed as part of the plea, a year later, the prosecutor charges the defendant with the same criminal damage that was dismissed under the laws of due process. The state cannot re-prosecute this charge because it would be double jeopardy. I'm sorry, that the state cannot re-prosecute this charge. This would be double jeopardy because jeopardy, it says this would not be double jeopardy though, since the case had not attached. Let me see what you're saying here. Let's go back to that. While out on bond, a person is denied life, liberty, or pursuit without being convicted of anything, property, not justice. I don't understand that question. No, a person is, if a person's out on bond, they haven't been adjudicated. You don't have yeah. So that means that the basic thing is that that person is free to be out, and you have to understand the reasons for bond and the 2 reasons for bond. And be able to indicate those. By the way, that's part of the exam that you're going to have there as well. So, and bond is not a right. It should be, if you look at the Eighth Amendment, it doesn't guarantee bond. It guarantees that it should be reasonable bail. Well, the reason why the law restricts a person from being able to have a weapon or drink alcohol is because that means that if you do that, you will probably lead yourself towards another charge or catch another case. That's why those things are in there. And they'll say that because usually people who come before the court, they're trying to say to you, while we're trying to clean up what you're being charged with now, don't let something else add on to it. Does that make sense? That's just one of the things that goes with it. It makes a whole lot of sense. You know, I'm going to tell you something. That whole Second Amendment issue and people with guns, I am 71 as of Monday. I owned a gun for 4 years. And the only reason I owned that gun is because I was a police officer. When I stopped being a police officer, I didn't. I have never been shot. I've lived in some pretty rough areas. Having a gun is overrated, and I can't get into the details of that right now. But there's a lot of people, especially in your state, who operate on that basis. They have guns. You have a slingshot. Yeah, okay. But guns are a whole issue that I won't get into in this course. That's a Second Amendment issue. In the old constitutional law class, one of the weeks was the whole lecture, the whole session was about the Second Amendment. And I was able to do that. I wish they'd have put that back in here, but they decided when they redid this to concentrate on one of the biggest areas in criminal law procedure, and that is the Fourth Amendment, followed by the Fifth and the Sixth. So, but people, there are things that happen now more because of guns than when guns were. And somebody say, "Oh, criminals have them." Please give me a break. That's going to always be, and you're going to have that. And so, yeah. If the Second Amendment was, it would be a very uh, interesting course. They should have a whole course, actually, just about the Second Amendment now, as far as I'm concerned, to help students. So anyway, that is it for us. I don't have anything else except the key phrase. And I'm going to leave this and wrap up. What do you think an idea for the key phrase is? Give me liberty or give me death? All right. Actually, that's it. You got it. Actually, that's why when you said it earlier, I said to myself, I said, that's the one I like to use. That is it. Death penalty. And I have to say it because the reason why is because students don't see the chat in the recording. Death penalty. That is it. Give me that and you'll get your points for it. Well, it's been a blast these last 5.5 weeks. A lot of things have happened in the law. I've talked about things that have happened in the Derek Chauvin case. There's been other cases that have come on since that, the Dante Wright case, then the Andrew Brown case, Breonna Taylor before that, and the litany just keeps going on and on and on. Speaking of the Chauvin case, today it was announced that there were the federal charges now. Uh, yeah, the federal charges though. in that case. I mean, he was found guilty of 3 counts in the criminal case in Minnesota recently by the jury. But now the federal government is also going to bring federal charges, which, by the way, somebody said, isn't that double jeopardy? It is not double jeopardy in the federal court to be able to do that. Nope. You can bring it back in the federal court, which is why there are cases that happened in the 50s that the individuals were found not guilty in those stacked juries down south that dealt with lynchings and killings, particularly of Emmett Till in the 50s, that later on the Justice Department came forth and charged those individuals, and they were found guilty because of the kangaroo courts that existed. So it's a very serious offense. And now all of the officers, all 4 of them, second-degree murder, even though second-degree murder was on, you're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But the key thing is that what it does is it provides, well, you got color of law issues that allow in the federal level for more damages, punitive damages that take place. So you got that to operate. Color of law is operating like in an official capacity, and you do something like, in these cases, police officers. So anyway, but it could happen in this one because of and then now there's some evidence that came out that the officers that were involved, one of them, the knee to the back and other parts of the body, also contributed as well. So, yep, punitive damages. It really has to be um, um, something bad happen. Well, killing somebody and depriving them of life, I think that's as bad as it gets. So that kind of begs the question there. So, well, I'm going to say good night. It's been a pleasure teaching you guys. I hope to see many of you in the future. I have students that are all over the country who have written. In fact, I got a recommendation I got to complete for one of my students for a local police department here in my area. And I do that for students. So feel free to reach out to me after you graduate or after you do your bachelor, associates, bachelors. If you want to still go to law school, reach out to me and I'll help you with resources that can help you to go there. I don't try to steer everybody this way, Northwestern Law, but I'm biased there. So, yep. Well, it has been a blast. Thank you so much, Amanda. Again, I wish, yeah, a lot of people like to go to that school. We call it the Harvard of the Midwest. And so, or some people say Harvard of the Midwest. So I got friends who went there, but I got friends who went to my school who went even farther than some of the Harvard people. But anyway, then there were people who lived in Illinois that went to Harvard, like Garrett Marlin, Marlin Garrett. Did I say his right? Garrett Merrick Garland, who's from Illinois, who went to Harvard, and a lot of people. But the smartest people in the world don't always end up going to some of those top law schools, because there's some politicians right out here right now that I wonder what did they learn at Harvard and Yale and those schools. I won't mention names, but um, there's one from your state. There's one from your state. Yeah, you said it. And then there's one from Florida, and yeah, some of the theories of law that they come up with. I wonder how did they get their degrees. So, all right. So, good night to you. I'm going to let you go because I got to convert this so that students can get that key phrase tonight. Yeah, you got that right. Yeah, I don't, your state is not on my bucket list of places to visit soon, even though I got a really good friend that lives in, what's the expensive part near Dallas? Um, he's at, what's the name of the airport? What's the name of that airport? What's the name of the DF Dallas Fort Worth. He lives in Fort Worth. Yeah, that's they call that the high rent district out there. Houston, yeah, my nephew lives down there. He works for Southwest Airlines, and he's been down there a while. So yeah, yeah, he likes it. He likes Houston. He said Houston is much nicer than Dallas. So I told him I wouldn't know. I don't know. And then they lied to me and told me I can get the best steak uh, down there in Texas. I don't know. I've got, you know what? One of my best steaks comes from something with Texas on it, and it's a restaurant that has Texas in its name. Do you know the name of the restaurant? Yep, I love that place. I love it. Yeah, Texas Roadhouse. Yeah, I get the the big ribeye, the 20, there's a 22-ounce one. I get the big one. Yeah, buddy. Medium well, pan. I don't like it on the grill. I don't like those marks and stuff like that. And you know what? I don't put any, people says, you want to put something on that steak? I says, please, that's sacrilegious. Yeah, but that's how I love my steak. Yeah. They told me that if I came to Texas, that one of the best places to go is Sawgrass. You heard of Sawgrass? Yeah, but I didn't go. I went to Texas Roadhouse when I was in Denton. Matter of fact, right by the hotel, there was a Texas Roadhouse. So they don't have the rolls. Oh, aren't those rolls? Those, you know what? While I'm on losing my weight, I try to stay away from bread and stuff, but I have to at least get one. And that butter on it that goes on it, that cinnamon butter. Oh, why are you doing this to me? And actually, I'm on a fast now until tomorrow. But yeah, I had a steak yesterday, but that came from Outbacks. Outbacks has a good ribeye. I don't like the bone in, and some people like the tomahawk steak. I don't like that. Looks like a weapon more than something I could eat. Prime rib, I stopped eating that because most places they have so much pink in there. Oh my God, and it is fatty, and and then I would put the sour cream on it. Oh, you like pink? Oh, that's rare. I don't. It's still going moo. So no, I don't. I try not to do that. So, well, okay, Amanda, have a steak on me, and next time you're eating a prime rib, everybody knew me. They says, "Oh, uh, Richard Wright loves prime rib." I says, "Well, I gave it up. Now my ribeye has done it. I used to like New York strips. Filet mignon is a ripoff. It's a ripoff. It is. That's like people says, "Oh, that's the classy steak." I says, "Yeah, you're right, but it's about this big around." You know, I feel almost like Clara Peller, uh, the late Clara Peller. Uh, yeah, it is cheaper. Do you know who Clara Peller was? Have you ever heard of Clara Peller? If you Google, you'll find out. She was a lady, they did commercial years ago for Wendy's, and their motto was, "Where's the beef?" She was the where's the beef lady? And you remember that. Yeah, Clara Peller, God rest her soul. And but now if I'm gonna eat burgers, my favorite burger is it used to be Fuddruckers, but they're kind of like dying out. But I like Wendy's. Uh, Wendy's has the best. the best meat. You know, yours comes from a bar. Some people I know. I don't go to the bar. I don't go behind bars. In fact, I don't let them sit me in the bar area. Culver's. Culver's has a good burger. Yeah. Yeah, I've had that one too as well. All right, this course is ending on food, and and it's all your fault, Amanda. I'm gonna tell my wife tomorrow we gotta go get a steak. So anyway, stay safe, uh, and I was gonna say enjoy your break, but there is no break because classes start the next day. So take care. Good being around you, having as a student. And I do encourage you again, if you need me, you know how to reach out to me and say good night at this time. All right. You're welcome.